Since its founding in 1867, the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign has considered itself to be a significant force in the science of agriculture, engineering, and military affairs. Later, the university would seek acclaim in other fields, such as business, the social sciences, and the humanities. An educational institution that began with less than 1,000 students now boasts a student enrollment of over 40,000, making it one of the largest public university systems in the nation. Today, UIUC prides itself as a world-class leader in research, teaching, and public engagement. Key terms used in catalogs and websites to describe itself include Research One, World-Class Institution, Winning Football Team, State-of-the-Art Education, Global Campus, and more recently, Inclusive Illinois. Consistent with the overall mission of the University of Illinois system, the Urbana-Champaign campus expresses commitment to providing faculty with the best possible environment for research, scholarship, and teaching, providing students with outstanding and diverse educational experiences and support services, and providing staff with a work environment that supports and recognizes their contributions to the campus. Unfortunately, these commitments have not always been met. UIUC was one of the 37 public land-grant institutions created shortly after Abraham Lincoln signed the Morrill Act in 1862. Under the Act, each state was granted federal land within its borders for the establishment of a public institution to fulfill the Act's provisions. That is, to teach agriculture, military tactics, and the mechanical arts, as well as classical studies, so that members of the working classes could obtain a liberal, practical education. In keeping with the land-grant mission, the university claims a tradition of accessibility, inclusiveness, and societal relevance in all of its endeavors. Yet many of the stories of students from underrepresented communities belie the accuracy of this claim.
And I know we're all here because we're really mad about what's going on campus. But like the previous speaker said, it's not just this one incident. This whole college creates an environment of intolerance.
Throughout its brief history of slightly more than a century, the University of Illinois has prided itself as a prominent force for societal mobility, able to meet changing social needs. Once described as the worst of the best and a sleeping giant, the university developed as a highly selective multiversity, with over 25% of its students in graduate or professional programs. Yet, it is interesting to note that despite the increasing numbers of undergraduate enrollment since the 60s, the number of graduate students has remained virtually unchanged.
I know my advisor does not understand me or who I am.
People don't want to believe that racism exists within the institution. Like higher education is better than that.
Some of my experiences have been with people who have never been face-to-face with anyone different than themselves. Their only understanding of African Americans and black culture is what they see on TV.
See the community's intolerance of race, gender, and sexuality. I know some people just call it Midwestern culture, but to me, I just see it kind of as backwards and detached from the larger society.
The underlying character of a university is often revealed in the class and ethnic makeup of its leadership and its founding philosophical principles. As evidenced by historical documents, photographs, and its demographics, the university, for the most part, functioned as a lily-white institution of the elite, with a typical colorblindness, racism, and contradictions. Through most of its years, issues of difference were not of concern to the life of the campus. The Ku Klux Klan student organization, for example, was founded in 1906. Memberships to the group was unconventional, for instead of individual membership, one representative from each participating fraternity was appointed as a member of the club. At its founding, 21 of the 22 fraternities belonging to the Pan-Hellenic Council appointed representatives to the organization. In April 1923, the title of the club, Ku Klux Klan, ceased to exist when leaders of the group voted to change the name to Tumas, an Indian one, according to H.C. Woodward, president of the organization. Members of the KKK served as heads of every important organization on campus. Illini Union Board Director Oscar Leutwiler worked closely with at least 2 KKK members, and his son, Lester Leutwiler, was a developer of the chief concept in 1926. Harold Pogue, the student who founded the campus Klan, held several highly esteemed positions at the university. First elected to the University Board of Trustees in 1935, Pogue served as president of the board from 1940 to 41. He was again elected to the board for consecutive 6-year terms in 1958 and 1964. The racist tradition of minstrel blackface performance was a common event on the campus until the 1940s. Since 1926, a fabricated Indian icon, Chief Illiniwek, was featured as the revered mascot of college football and basketball games. For 80 years, the racialized tradition of playing Indian was nurtured in song, shirts, posters, and memorabilia strewn across the campus. It was not until the winter of 2006 that the Indian mascot finally ceased its crazy dance. But unfortunately, the mascot remains embedded in the private actions of those fans from the surrounding community who stubbornly continue to consume the racist icon.
We had to fight with the knowledge that the chief might not ever go away.
To be honest with you, once you get out of Chicago, you are in the South. And that mentality is very prevalent here.
What student of color means is that there's a climate of racism outside.
But here I definitely know that I'm a minority.
Anyone that denies hearing racial or homophobic remarks is just full of it.
My silence has really been key. If you don't talk, they don't like you because they think you're an idiot. But when you say whatever's on your mind, it's a threat. We're a threat. From the 1960s on, waves of student protests emerged out of the frustrations and struggles of Black, Latino, Asian, Native American, and other underrepresented students as they call for change to the negative conditions of oppression experienced on the UIUC campus. The 1960s were also characterized by increasing student and faculty unrest over governance and social priorities. On September 10, 1968, Black student protests erupted on the campus, with 250 students arrested on counts of mob action. The protests of underrepresented students on the UIUC campus were often linked to anti-war protests, which called for an end to U.S. imperialist practices in Vietnam and around the globe. A variety of student-run publications were created over the years to provide a voice for student concerns, including Drums, the newsletter of the Black Student Association, and La Carta, a Latino student newsletter calling for change. The first national protests against the use of Indian mascots began at UIUC in 1987, after graduate student Charlene Teeters took her 2 children to a Fighting Illini football game. Teeters, who is a Spokane American Indian, tried to prepare her children for what they would see. Nothing she could have said prepared them for the humiliation of seeing people in war paint, wearing feathers and carrying tomahawks. At the tailgate parties, members of sororities and fraternities were doing buck and squaw dances. In the depiction of Chief Illiniwek, Teeters recalls witnessing the mocking of something sacred.